You're a startup founder. You think your product is amazing and feel like more people should be buying, but the road is long and slow. It feels like you're stuck. There's always one thing I ask startup founders. Have you talked to your customers? They almost always say, heck yes, we talk to our customers all the time. But what I find is they're either selling or trying to improve their product. These are not customer-focused conversations. If we can get curious about our customers, then we can uncover critical insights that will help us build to the next round. I'm Anna Firmenov, and welcome to Building with Buyers, a show about startup growth where I'll explore how customers help startups build to the next round. Evan, are those real palm trees behind you? Am I looking at a painting or am I looking at real palm trees?
Those are real palm trees. We're located in Marina del Rey. Whether they are, how long they've been there, that's something I couldn't tell you, but they're definitely real. So that's usually the first. You get the AI backgrounds.
They're beautiful. Yeah, I just had to check because they're beautiful. There's one that's like, I'm going to be the tallest out of the whole bunch.
Yeah, right on.
So it's really cool that you're sitting and that's your background and it's not AI generated. It's just natural. Love to see that. Evan, welcome to the show. Evan Quinn is co-founder and CEO at Hiyo. Founded in 2021, Hiyo is a stress-relieving social tonic crafted with natural adaptogens, nootropics, you tell me if I say any of this wrong, and functional botanicals.
You know what? I think people get away with nootropics or nootropics. Like I feel like I've heard both, but who's to say?
Which one's right?
I say nootropics.
Good.
I just, it's the same thing as people saying Hiyo versus Hiyo. It's like, all right. No.
Oh, what do you prefer?
Oh, no, it is Hiyo. I'm just saying
good.
People come up with crazy things all the time. So you never know.
I like Hiyo because it's like, Hiyo, it's just like there's something fun to it and it's supposed to be a fun social tonic. Like that just makes sense to me. So
yeah,
it is a better than alcohol alternative. And I've actually seen these when we went to a bar. It's kind of like a neighborhood bar that sells a ton of beer and alcohol beverages. And so on the shelf, I'm seeing a lot more of these types of alcohol free, but they have other ingredients in them that are just different because people are looking for alternatives to alcohol. So it's definitely has gained ground. So Constellation Brands, which is a leading beverage alcohol company, if folks do not know, owns a minority stake in Hiyo, which is amazing. And it sounds like there's been so much growth, Evan. Like you started as direct to consumer. So from the website, you can purchase the product. But now you're in 6,000 plus retail locations. Is that right? That's crazy. You've exploded.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we launched direct to consumer in May of 2021. We were pretty much exclusive D2C until October of 2022. So coming up on like 3 years of like a wholesale strategy to help become an omni-channel company. And we've just seen like incredibly rapid growth in that channel. That's obviously where people traditionally buy beverages. So we're seeing kind of the pendulum shift from a D2C. Again, we had some hyper growth on D2C, which allowed us to get some good notoriety earlier in our career. And then now we use that as a competitive advantage in wholesale. So we're able to use our online community and send them in store and get new buyers for, new customers for retailers, which they love, or increase basket size, which they also love. So, yeah.
Yeah. It's really beneficial to have DTC, right? Because you have access to all that data. And so that's probably super useful for you to learn firsthand, like who's buying this stuff and where are they buying it and how much are they buying. And that's like probably extremely helpful. But what percent is like DTC versus retail in store? What percent is purchased on the website versus at retail locations?
Yeah. We also launched Amazon last year. So now Amazon makes up probably about 40% of our online business, Shopify doing about 60, and that's quickly kind of catching up to one another.
Yeah.
But I would say at this point, our business is probably 2/3 wholesale, 1/3 D2C. So it's been a rapid shift, kind of the other way. It used to be probably 2 years ago, 80/20 D2C to wholesale.
Yeah.
And so it's been very interesting to see the dynamic and channel strategy kind of come to life in a way that shifts things back to how traditional beverages are built. And our D2C channel is amazing. It's been the backbone of our business since the day we launched. But I also view it, a bit of it as a marketing initiative, right? We're able to just create more brand awareness and use that online community to drive to store.
That's amazing. What would you say? And I know it's more complicated than just like one thing that you did, but
Sure.
what did you do to get your foot in the door in those early days when you were going from DTC to your first retailer that brought you in? Like, what did you need to do? What did you need to show? What did you need to prove?
Yeah. I mean, I think when you showcase the opportunity of like, hey, people, look how many people are buying our beverages online, because retail hadn't really bought into the category in the early days of Hiyo. That's a really hard ask to make people buy drinks online, right? We're shipping heavy liquid aluminum cans across the country, and just showcasing that pent up demand, I think was really eye opening to a lot of retailers who are a bit on the fence on this category. So I think that was a huge component that opened the door, just showing them that like, if you take a chance on us as a brand, we can show you some data over here that it's probably pretty likely that it's going to go well. And then aligning yourselves with the right partners. So we have a phenomenal broker that helps those channels, our natural specialty and conventional wholesale channels in mass. And then having the right distributors and just making sure you have the proper infrastructure, because they want to know if they put you on the shelf, you're not going to run into inventory problems. You can support with promotions. You have some, you're well capitalized so that you can support brand awareness in there. So there's a lot that needs to happen to get things off the ground. But, once it starts snowballing, it snowballs.
That's amazing. So, of course, in this episode, I want to explore more around your customers because customers are so important. I think we need to have a new title, head of customer, like head of marketing. That one's tough, right? Because, like, what does that mean? It means different things at different companies. And so just have been thinking, like, somebody needs to be super close to the customer. I believe marketing needs to be the closest. And customers play such an important role in helping companies build to their next level of growth. And so that's where I'm bringing people on like you. I want to talk about that. I want to talk about your customers. Tell me more about your customer super fans. Like, help me understand, who are these people?
Yeah. So like you said earlier, when you're a D2C brand, you have a really phenomenal customer feedback loop. So you're very close to them. I would say in the first 2 years of the brand, 2 to 3 years, we were three co-founders of Hiyo. So we were a 3 to 4 person company doing direct consumer almost entirely. So myself and one of my co-founders, George, we were doing every customer service ticket. So we had the opportunity to have, thousands and thousands of one-on-one customer interactions. And, most of the time when you write in a customer service, you're solving people's problems. Like, where's my order? I want to cancel the order. It's lost in transit, like things like that. But you also get some amazing notes that come in to say how your product has changed people's lives. For us as an alcohol alternative, usually that decision is one where you're trying to make a better version of yourself, right? And when you stop drinking or cut down your drinking, it can feel like an ostracizing exercise. And so when you find a drink, again, this category is still pretty new. People are exploring the entire category, but when you find a product that really fits your needs from a flavor profile, price, functionality, kind of a brand, like everything comes together. I've seen people develop like just really deep love for the brand, and you get long narratives about how, we save lives, we've saved relationships, we help people not reach for alcohol when they historically might. So there's just an amazing fire that gets stoked by our Hiyo super fans. I also don't call them super fans. I don't call them customers. We call them family.
Family. I've not heard
Yeah.
of this, but I like it. I
Yeah.
like it. Tell me more. Why family?
Our number one core value at Hiyo is customer obsession. Every company, is no better than all their customers who give them their hard-earned money in exchange for a product or a service. So as you get bigger, it's easy to feel like you're getting further away from your customers, but it's incredibly important to always ground yourself in that, like, you are a fiduciary to every customer who gives you their money, right? You need to offer them something of true value. So I want people to always feel like they're a part of our family, right? We have a mission to change the way the world drinks, and we don't do that because the 18 people that work at Hiyo decide we are, right? It's because of the hundreds of thousands of people who like this drink and the millions who are buying into this category. That's the only way we're going to accomplish that goal. So I call them family. We make sure to call them family because they are incredibly important to us, and I think we remain incredibly humble and kind of in gratitude that we are able to do this for our day to day, do this for a living, and try to kind of live that mission out of changing the way the world drinks.
Yeah. Okay. So they're not customers, they're family.
Yeah.
There's something to be said around making your buyers feel special. So I'll give an example. Broke an umbrella and I needed a new umbrella. And I went on Amazon and I found a great umbrella. You know, it had all the right features, everything got shipped to me. I opened it up, and then inside was a handwritten note, I think, right? Sometimes Amazon surprises me because sometimes I'm like, oh, yeah, this is mass, everyone's buying this stuff. But sometimes these small mom and pops have products on there, and then they had like a note there and a family picture and like the just very wholesome, right? And they just explain it's not just an umbrella and why they decided to do it and where they're from and how there's wind and rain and like why they were fed up with them, like the story, the origin story, those things matter. So now I
Absolutely.
take that umbrella and I look at it differently because I remember the family and I know their origin story. And I'm like, this is not just an umbrella. This has a backstory to it. And also, if it breaks, it's like basically forever. If it ever breaks, because they believe in this umbrella so much, because they
Hmm.
finally built something that lasts, send it back and they'll send you a new one. I'm like, this is amazing. Like, this is what it means to feel like you're part of more than just an umbrella company, right? So, anyway, sorry, I had to share that. So, your customer family, how old are they? Like, is it all different ages? Is
Yeah.
it women more? Like, what else do you know about them?
Yeah. I mean, I think each channel has its own demographic that is stickier than others. Our direct consumer, which again, we have the most data from that, like you said, is traditionally call them cool suburban moms. So it's, your 30 to 55-year-old women primarily living in the middle of the country that are trying to cut down on a Tuesday glass of wine or a happy hour with their friends because they have to make a early meeting or an early workout class. Those are kind of the bread and butter of people who are buying the product. That said, this category is buzzy because younger generations are also not drinking as much as older generations. So you call it your Gen Zers, and those folks are drinking less because there's more competition in the world. There's better purpose. They have a better self, I think, a better self identity. They understand who they are and what they want to be, and sometimes drinking doesn't match what their ambitions are. So we're trying to meet them where they are in the music scenes with our partnerships and the festival circuits and venues and concerts all around the country. So I think each channel has a different demographic that is stickier to the brand. But I think we always try to, like, everything about Hiyo is supposed to like lower the barrier to grab a can, right? Whether that's a price point that's not aggressive, functionality that makes you feel good in the moment, and the next day, flavor profiles that are down the middle and still look sophisticated and complex enough to be a replacement for a glass of wine or a cocktail. And really a brand that is authentic, a brand that is founder forward, kind of like you said, like people get to see myself, George, Signy a lot and feel like, we are a part of their journey. And it's just like a warm, inviting, supportive brand, as opposed to sometimes people make brands that are exclusive and you have to have a certain amount of income to even buy this product. And we thought people are trying to make a better version of themselves by drinking Hiyo or drinking less. So why make that decision even harder with any of those other things being off?
Yeah. Now I get it. Like there are certain people that are gravitating towards it, but then there's just different target buyers, I think, for you guys. And you'll probably explore that a bit more as you figure out who's really loving you, who's like talking about you, right? Spreading word of mouth, who's like really, really just a brother or sister versus a fourth cousin as part of the
Right.
family, right?
Yeah. I guess to make another point in this category, like every brand in this category shares this. Again, like I've been saying, like when you drink products like Hiyo, you're making a lifestyle shift. So Hiyo truly is a lifestyle brand. And it's one that when people find the brand that they love, or that they're loving this decision, they share it, right? It's something that they're proud of. And so you can never downplay the organic word of mouth that comes from brands like Hiyo and the lifestyle choices that they promote. So we've been able to, you really can't sometimes peg what that does for your business, but the fact that we're a lifestyle brand and that there's very strong word of mouth and social proofing around, I love this product, you might love this product as well. That's something you can't manufacture. It just comes naturally. And you have to have an amazing product for people to want to share it or come back a second time.
Hey, it's Anna, host of Building with Buyers. I started the show because I found that customers play such an important role in business growth, but they're often overlooked. We're so focused on net new. But the thing that makes you unique is not your product. There are so many companies solving the same problem, and they have customers too. The thing that makes you unique is your superfan customers. That's your moat. Most positioning and messaging is guesswork. I'm a customer insights and strategy advisor, and I help my clients by interviewing their customer superfans and translating those insights into clear and compelling positioning and messaging that specific people care about. So you get deeper engagement with customers and prospects, increased inbound to demos, better sales conversations, increased word of mouth, and closed deals. If you're done guessing, stumbling along, and want to be more customer obsessed, reach out. I'd love to help. And now, back to the episode.
These lifestyle brands, like you're just really just part of their day to day or week to week, like once they can't have the week without you, then that's it. It's part of the lifestyle. I think what's going to be tough is as the competition heats up, right? Because this is getting more popular. People are moving away from alcoholic products. And so that's going to be tough, is like owning your stake. But I think you guys have grown so big so quickly that that's going to help you out. But I wanted to ask you, how do you, since there is that organic word of mouth, which I love to hear, because then anything you do related to marketing and growth efforts is just going to have an impact. So how do you incorporate customers as part of your growth efforts? Is there anything that's kind of like unique that comes to mind?
Definitely. I mean, again, we have a very strong direct consumer channel. By virtue of that, we always try to keep our consumers in the loop. And then again, like I said earlier, like people are giving their hard-earned money for value. And so always needing to reevaluate, like, are we driving value? Whether that's new flavors, new products, functionality shifts, price changes, like there's always this idea of wanting to understand what do people want more. So at a bare minimum, we do customer surveys at least once every 6 months, trying to understand who's responding. You get a little bit of demographic information, but also we take some of the key initiatives that we're looking into, whether that is new flavor ideation, improving the functionality, changing the packaging, like what have you. And we try to ask our customers in a way that we can get their kind of feedback. And when there's an overwhelming, like, hey, yeah, you should move away from this packaging into that one, like we do end up doing that. So it's amazing opportunity to keep people and our family like front of mind. We also do things like we do ticket giveaways. We invite our community to local events, like when we're throwing them ourselves in Southern California, or we're trying to have gatherings all across the country. Like we always try to invite people and make sure our community, it's more than just a drink, right? It is a community. It is a family. We want people to feel connected to the brand and to the founders as much as possible. And even like the most unique thing I think that comes to mind is I used to do, and I guess I still do it, I just haven't done it this year, what I call CEO office hours, where I literally open up my calendar an hour a day for 2 weeks for anyone to put a 15-minute meeting on my calendar. And we put that up on our socials. It's available to literally anyone who is a customer. Now I either get people that are effusively loving the product, which is awesome, or sometimes I get people that are trying to sell me something. But either way, I think for me, it's a humility thing. It's again, trying to maintain the one-on-one connections to our customers. And so I continue to do that even as we have, tremendous growth. I think I want to keep that human nature, right? That human to human connection with anyone who comes in contact with a can of Hiyo.
Do people use that 15-minute slot, like customers, to tell you, like, I love it, but here's what I would change? Do you have those conversations too?
For sure. That's what I'm looking for.
Okay.
Right. Like I have thick skin, right? if I got on there for people just to tell me how much they love Hiyo over and over again, like my ego would be through the roof, right? I really want
Yeah.
people to tell me what are their problems, right? How would they improve it? They've probably been thinking about the product, and people have come up with really great ideas, whether if it's, again, the same things, like flavor profile ideas, different types of products, different types of packaging, stores they'd like us to be in, like what you name it. They definitely bring it up. I want to know the problems, honestly, more than I want to know the praise.
Yeah. Do you have like a group of customer family members that you turn to kind of as you're developing the product and launching in new places and working on marketing campaigns? Do you have like a, I don't know, like a influencer group or anything that you've put together or no?
Not necessarily. I think our subscribers are our stickiest consumers, obviously. So if we were to ever roll out something that's brand new, we'd want to test it on a small scale before actually rolling it out to the core business. If we were to do that, we would go to our subscribers first. Obviously, want them to opt in, not just assume that they're interested and do it. So it would go subscribers first, but we also have, again, just even beyond our Hiyo family, like the Hiyo family also includes the small army of people that help build this brand. It's not just the 3 founders. It's not just the 18 people that work here. It's external partners. It's supporters since day one. It's people that have introduced us to other people along the way. So it's, it takes a small army to really build a brand.
Yeah.
And I, again, remain grateful for everyone who's been a part of it.
That's why I like bringing on direct to consumer or B2C products, because I think that there's just a lot going on that either hasn't yet touched the B2B world, which I bring on a lot of B2B companies on the show and work with clients that are B2B, but there's always like fascinating things that are happening in DTC and B2C. And I like to think about like, how does that translate into the B2B world, right? So with customers spreading word of mouth, do they do that on social channels? Do they do that where you can't see it? Like, how do you know? How do you track that? Do they share it with you? Like, what's been maybe a good example of that?
Yeah. I mean, I think very on the nose would be social posts, right? When we get tagged in
Yeah.
things, that obviously is people like the product enough or like the brand enough to promote it on their own social channels. If you go to our website, we have not just community highlights, but also where I'm going is the rewards platform. So people can earn rewards for buying Hiyo and redeem free product or free merch or free trinkets, right? And with that, there's a referral program where if you refer someone to Hiyo, you can get a bonus for that. So I think that's a very quantitative way of understanding, are people sharing their unique links to bring people into the family. And then in retail, like you said, B2B, it's incredibly difficult to understand, are people really spreading the word about Hiyo, because you don't know who's actually pulling the can off the shelf. I will say though, like everyone in retail, like their velocity data, their rate of sale is kind of the crown jewel of KPIs. And we are performing so strongly that you can't get the performance that we're having without people coming back or people sharing the product with others. So while I can't, put that on the nose.
Because it's like up and to the right, right? Like the
Yeah.
chart is basically you're in the store and then people buy you and then the word spreads and then more purchases, probably not from the same people. Probably they're telling other people. And then that's where the velocity hits, right?
Yeah. Or people are discovering the brand. I think where a lot of brands fall short, as they're scaling, is as you increase your points of distribution and you're not increasing your brand awareness, at least to like a 1-to-1 clip, all you're doing is really thinning out your sales velocity. So you'll likely see brands that, their points of distribution are going through the roof, but their velocity is going down. That just means people have more ability to buy you in different places. So you're not actually bringing new customers to the table. You're just, again, thinning out your customer base. Whereas if you can find brands that scale their points of distribution and increase their velocity along the way, that's the crown jewel. That's exactly what you want.
Yeah. What's been challenging at Hiyo? Like there's a lot of great stuff that we've discussed. And I just love
Yeah.
to ask this question because I know
What
that,
keeps me up at night?
well, some people say, oh my gosh, everything is hard, right? Because you're trying to keep up with things, right? You're trying to do so many things at once. It's, a lean team still. And so what's the most challenging thing for you guys right now?
Yeah, I mean, similar to kind of what I was just saying, like as a scaling brand, you need to have operations, sales, and marketing all kind of move in lockstep. And if one of those three, ends of the triangle are imbalanced, it really throws off the other two. You get strong sales, but you don't have the product from operations to support it. And brand awareness is going well, but you don't have product. So that's done, right? You don't have the good brand awareness. People aren't understanding what your brand is. There's not a lot of market penetration, household penetration. So you can't support sales, or like sales. If you can't get points of distribution, that's a huge problem, right? Because now you can't sell, and that's everything. So maintaining that as we grow, whether that's through ascribing the right budgets to them, making sure we have the right team dynamics to support each one of those departments. That's been something that I wouldn't say has been like, it's been challenging for sure, but it hasn't been like, it's something that we focus on a lot. That's kind of our core focus. I think this brand, lives in a category that's new. So you have your classic, the challenge, yet the opportunity of having to grow something that doesn't exist. Hiyo was one of the early players in this category. So I consider us kind of the tip of the spear, right? And usually that gets bent. And we do a lot of the dirty work isn't the right word, but we do a lot of like the trailblazing work of getting retailers to buy into this category, or just growing brand awareness so people understand what this category is in general. And I think that it's a blessing and a curse that comes with that, right? You have a lot on your shoulders to make or break the category as one of the key players. So that's been a challenge in product education, how we differentiate, like you said, our product from the big guys that are trying to get in the category, or copycats of new brands that like are just creating a similar company to ours. You're always going to be,
Yeah. Like we're also a stress relieving social tonic.
Yeah. And to consumers, that's very confusing, right? It's like, well, how do you
Yeah.
differentiate one from another if everybody just likes, copies your product or copies your marketing? And again, you can't really do anything about that. And, we're all trying to just grow brand awareness and category awareness as a whole, but that's definitely something that any new category faces as a challenge. And then, yeah, just continuing to innovate, right? We are a 4-year-old beverage company. We need to stay trailblazing. We need to, continue to break through our inflection points to keep growing. And that comes with people dynamics, right? Trying to grow the team. Like historically as a founder, like I loved being in the trenches. I was, we were a small 4-person company for the first 2.5 years of the brand, and we were doing everything. Now, my job is delegating, kind of, I call myself like the puzzle master, just trying to keep everything together and in lockstep. And then just trying to set up my people for success. It's much more about attracting the right talent, assessing the talent, onboarding and training them, and then retaining them. So I'm sure we'll get to it later, but I think finding the right people is the most important thing to me. Like I talk a lot on this podcast about our family being customers, but there's honestly nothing more that I love than the people that work at our company, the 18 folks that spend their every kind of waking moment work with me and my co-founders on building something truly special. So
hopefully they still get some sleep.
They do. Sorry. I said waking moment.
You did say waking moment. Sorry.
No, we have good boundaries, I think.
But they're probably drinking Hiyo so that they have a good night's rest. And then the next day they can, be recharged.
Yeah. Free perk. Good perk is free Hiyo for everybody.
I get that. Like what's the different things that you mentioned that are challenging for sure. Like being a category, leading the category, starting in 2021, educating customers, right? There's, like you said, it's been on your shoulders. And it's actually helpful as other people probably come in and it becomes more of a norm to see products like this. This is actually not hurtful for you. It's helpful. But what you don't want to see is like the copycat. So then it's confusing. I think what will be useful for you, you already have this mindset, this like customer is family first, and like surveys out to your customers and making sure that you understand what they're looking for, doing those 15-minute talk to the CEO calls. I think that to continue to know, like, how do you differentiate? Continue to do that, like to keep talking to them, maybe do surveys more often or like do conversations more often. I would do the quantitative plus the qualitative, layering those both together and doing them more because things are just changing so quickly, right? In this category, we're not even talking about AI tools. We're talking about a drink. We're talking about a new beverage, non-alcoholic, better for you beverage. And so I think you could get a lot of really interesting insights and learnings from customers when they bring something up and you'll be like, oh my gosh, I never thought about us in that way. But look, those outliers, don't push them to the side. Like really, this is something that I've heard before. I've talked to Christopher Lockhart, who's like category creation king, and he's talked about like listen to the weird stuff, because the weird stuff will give you insights on how you can better differentiate yourself, and nobody else can ride on that, right? Because that's your unique customers. So this has been great, Evan. You are truly building something that people love. And if anybody wants to check it out, go to drinkhiyo.com. You can also go to your nearest retail, Amazon. You can go to Amazon. Evan is on LinkedIn. You can go to Evan H. Quinn to learn more about Evan. And I thank you so much for joining me today, Evan.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It was awesome to discuss how important the Hiyo family is to me in this category. So really enjoyed the conversation, and thank you again.
Wonderful.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Building with Buyers. New episodes drop weekly, so make sure you're following wherever you get your podcasts. You can find me on LinkedIn, Anna Furmanov. Visit my website to learn more about how to turn customer insights into positioning and messaging your buyers will understand, furmanovmarketing.com. And don't forget to leave a review if you're loving the show.